Story time about why my mom kicked me out when I was 16. So a little background information. This had all started as soon as my dad left my mom and I. I was like 13 around the time. Well, ever since then, my mom would have different guys in and out of the house all the time. Like, we were lucky if a month went by and she was still with the same dude. Which, I mean, I kind of get it because my dad did leave us for a woman that he had started another family with. But at the same time, it was just a whole mess. Anyway, so she had got with this new guy, and we're gonna call him Tyler. And by the way, the dudes that she would date, they would literally live at our house. Anyway, so a week after he moved in, I started getting really close to him, which usually never happens. Usually I would try to keep my distance because I knew how wrong it was of her having all these different guys in the house when I'm only 16. Anyways, every time that my mom would go to work, he would invite me to go see a movie, and he would just be really flirty with me. And he was only 6 years older than me, and my mom was 32. You do the math. Anyways, like for part 2.
Storytime of the most dirtiest college roommate ever. By the way, we're calling her Jessie. So I moved in before Jessie and I get settled and decorate. The next day, she comes and throws her bag on the bed, then leaves. I thought it was weird because she didn't even say anything to me. Couple hours later, she comes back and I'm like, hello? And she's like, my bad, and comes give me a hug. She smelled very bad. She starts unpacking all of her clothes and blankets, but they smelled like mildew. Anyways, a week later, there's this party going on for freshmen, and she goes, but I stay in because I had a migraine. I told her that when she comes back, can she keep the light off? Now it's 2 a.m., and she comes back in very loud, uses the bathroom, then goes to sleep. And now I'm up, so I got up to use the bathroom too. When I sit down on the toilet, I feel something very squishy. It was dark because, like I said, I had a migraine. I get up, turn the light on, and I was sitting in her shit. Part 2 will be up soon.
Story of the time this girl tried to fight me at the mall for no reason. I was a freshman in high school at the time, and I went to the mall with my boyfriend and my friend. The mall that we were at has 2 levels. We were on the upper level. And just to paint a picture in your head, there's a balcony on top so you could see the lower level. But there's also 2 sides. So like a walkway on one side, a gap where you could see the lower level, and then another side. So we were on one side sitting on a couch. And the girl that wanted to fight me was my ex-boyfriend's cousin's friend. We always had beef for no reason. And it was never on my part either. She always hated me and always wanted to start stuff with me. So while we were sitting on the couch, I see her walking on the opposite side of the balcony. And we make eye contact. And she starts screaming, "Oh, look who it is! It's my best friend! Oh, look!" And immediately I was like, oh my god, great, we're gonna have to deal with this. I thought it was gonna end there. We ignored her so that she would go away. But nope, she walks on the other side of the balcony and comes up to us. She says to my boyfriend at the time, "Do you realize you're dating a..." Can't say it.
In over a dozen cases that have been ruled as suspicious drownings, a smiley face has been found near the body. The smiley face killer has been somewhat of a theory for a while, from 1997 all the way up to 2017. 45 bodies of college-age males have been found in 11 states, all in bodies of water. And many of these cases are strikingly similar. While police have just ruled this off as an accidental drowning, New York City detectives Kevin Gannon and Anthony Duarte, both extremely credible sources with about 40 years of combined experience, have been working hard to solve these unsolved cases. They believe for many reasons that police have ignored obvious signs that we have a serial killer or a group of serial killers on our hands, and that they could be potentially responsible for up to 335 cases. All of the victims have been male, college-age, athletic, popular, and high on academic achievements. So they suspect that these murders may be out of jealousy. Almost all of the bodies found show signs of dying on land, and come back positive for a roofie drug. So why were these ruled as an accident? Let's look at the cases.
ولا يا حلوين، هيدا الأوردر انطلب مني خصوصي اني صوره ونزله على تيك توك. في بنوت نقت البيبي بينك والبيبي بلو حبت تستعمل هول الكولرز لتعمل فيهم بريسلت بقلبها اسمها، وليك وقدي طلعوا حلوين مع بعض وقدي طلعت ناعمة على الإيد. شو رأيكن؟
So Lucy's running away from me in the mall. I sprint after her. She's super fast. She rounds a corner and then I can't find her after that. I start crying. I have no idea why my best friend ran away from me. So I sit down on a bench in the mall. I'm still crying, really overwhelmed. Then I hear someone say my name. So I look up and it's Lucy's uncle, Uncle Mike. He asks what's wrong and I tell him. He's being super nice and comforting. And then he starts rubbing my back, which made me uncomfortable, but I don't say anything. Then he offers to give me a ride home. And I say, no, I can just call my parents. And he goes, just let me give you a ride, come on. But the way he said it the second time gave me goosebumps. It was aggressive, like he wasn't asking me, he was telling me. So I stand up and step away from him and say, "You're making me uncomfortable, I'm calling my parents." Mike glares at me, and then he says, "No one likes a tease," and he walks away. I told my parents what happened, and they immediately called Lucy's parents. Apparently, Uncle Mike had taken a liking to me, and he found out that I was going to be at the mall that day with Lucy, and Mike paid her $100 to run away and leave me alone with him. He told Lucy that I liked him too, and that she was being a good friend by giving us alone time. I never spoke to Lucy again after that.
First of all, disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me from a friend. Let's just call my friend Sam. Sam has been friends with this girl named, let's just say, Rebecca, for about 5 months now. Sam loved hanging out with Rebecca, but then Rebecca told Sam that she has a crush on her. Although Sam is not completely straight, she does not really like that idea. Sam just wanted to keep on being just normal friends with Rebecca. But Sam does not know how to tell Rebecca this news without ruining their really good friendship. Should Sam just keep on ignoring Rebecca, or how should she tell her?
Story time about how I was dating the school shooter. Yeah. So a little background information. I was a sophomore whenever this all happened, and it was around October. Well, the one day I was sitting at lunch with my group of friends. We're all sitting there having a good time when one of my friends dares me to go over and sit with this one kid. And he was sitting alone, he was kind of shy, and of course I did because they had offered me $10, guys. Can't beat that. So I go over there, we start talking, and I realize that he's actually really nice. And he's really hot. I never really saw what he looked like because he was always wearing hoodies during school. Anyways, we started hanging out more, and eventually he said that he liked me, and we started dating. The relationship seemed pretty perfect. Well, 6 months in, I think he started to trust me more, because he had told me about this one group of girls that he absolutely hated. This group of girls just happened to be my friends. I didn't tell him that I was friends with these girls because they were considered controversial. Like for part 2.
My fiancé and I have been together for 6 years and engaged for 3. We decided to wait until I finished with my PhD program for us to get married. I picked a beautiful wedding hall that I was on the waiting list for 3 years to get into. My older sister also got engaged and is planning her wedding 6 months after mine. At our family dinner, she recently revealed that she's pregnant. My sister recently revealed that she was expecting and was going to push her wedding date forward. And she put me on the spot at the table and said, "I was really hoping we could take your venue. I really cannot stress myself too much with planning a wedding while going to maternity classes. And I think it's so beautiful and it would really mean a lot to me." I guess everyone is expecting me to say, yes, anything for my little sister. And when I looked at her, I had said, "I don't know. I have my heart really set on this venue." She started crying and she stormed out of the room. I tried defending myself, but my mom said, "You waited 3 years. Would have killed you to wait a few more months? When has your sister ever asked you for something?" My fiancé is super upset and wants to disinvite my sister, and my family is giving me the cold shoulder. So am I the asshole for not giving her the venue?
One time I was behind the register at Victoria's Secret. This customer walks in and immediately everybody spots her as a red flag. She's just picking up items, throwing them in her bag, not looking at sizes, not looking at colors. So everybody's like, everyone's on their walkie like, "Watch this customer. She's coming to the fitting room. She's headed to the cash wrap. Somebody get her. Check her ID. Get her. Get her." She has a bag full of stuff. And guess who gets her at the register? Me. So she comes to my register and she dumps out her stuff. And we're having a regular conversation. "Hi, how are you?" Yada, yada, yada. Her total comes up to probably between $700 to $900. It was expensive. My manager is at the register next to me, talking to me on the walkie. "Ashley, make sure you get that ID. Don't matter what she using, make sure you get that ID." So I ask her for the ID because she's paying credit. "Why do you need to ask for my ID? Just take it, run it." I'm like, "No, ma'am, I'm sorry. I need your ID for the purchase." She starts to raise her voice.
Okay, guys, so it's story time. So I just wanted to say first that I'm not from New York, and I'm still learning the rules of New York because I'm making a lot of mistakes, and so I thought it'd be fun to share some of all the dumb things that I do because they're probably pretty funny to New Yorkers. Okay, so anyway, let's start with today's story. So I went to a bagel store because I wanted to get a bagel, and because of COVID, you couldn't really eat inside this bagel store, so I just bought my food, and then I went to a park kind of close by to eat. And so when I got there, I was just minding my business, eating my food, and there were a couple of birds that were just kind of like close, but they were kind of minding their business too, so I didn't think anything of it. But then they got a little closer, So I figured that they were hungry and they were just waiting for somebody to drop some food, but I didn't want to drop food close to me because I didn't want them to come any closer. So I thought that if I just like broke off a piece of my food and threw it kind of far, they would go over there to eat the food, but you know, they'd leave me alone because then they had their food. Well, so that was a bad idea because I didn't know that there was going to be more of them. So I broke off the bagel and I threw the food kind of far, and a bunch of birds came out of nowhere. It was like 50 pigeons that just like started coming from everywhere trying to get food. And so they all went over to that side, but then they realized that like I guess one of the birds ate it all or something. So then they all started like coming towards me, and I was just like, okay, this is really bad. Maybe if I just like sit here and keep eating, they'll just leave me alone because they'll know that I'm not going to drop any more food. But then I was like, no, this is a bad idea. They're going to come and they're going to attack me. So, basically what I did was I just kind of ran and left my food there. So then they ate that, I guess. I don't really know what happened after that, but I ran, and then lesson learned, I'm never feeding the pigeons again. Nope, that's it. Bye, thanks.